Here we are again, once again inside the world's worst movie theater, as we're nearing the halfway point of my top 30 worst movies of all time. After this, we'll be at the halfway point. So let's get to my 16th worst movie that I've ever seen, and it centers around Rob Reiner. You know, during the 80s and 90s, he made some of the most memorable films of the time period, movies like This Is Spinal Tap, The Sure Thing, The Princess Bride, Misery, A Few Good Men. And then he kind of petered out, making films that were okay, like The American President or Rumor Has It, and stuff that was just really bad, like The Story of Us. But there is no doubt that the 16th worst movie I've ever seen in my life definitely was the film that caused him to take such a miraculous downfall in quality. It's 1994's all-star flop, North. This is a movie that, from the get-go, I mean, there's so much in here that really, I'll say this, it could be something, but just the way it's presented, the fact that they got all this talent in this movie, not just the director, but an ensemble cast like this that we'll get into as we move along here, but the fact that it turned out to be as bad as it was, it's awe-inspiring. It is literally awe-inspiring what I'm about to talk about. So you have 11-year-old North, played by Elijah Wood, who has had it with his parents, played by Julia Louis-Dreyfus and Jason Alexander. They are always busy with their careers and don't give North the attention he needs, so he files a lawsuit against them. The judge, played by Alan Arkin, rules that North should either find new parents or return to his own parents within 2 months. Thus, North starts off on a hilarious journey around the world to find the parents that really care about him. And of course, if you remember watching Siskel and Ebert back in the day, you know that this movie is one of Roger Ebert's most notorious reviews because of the very harsh words he had against the film.
I hated this movie. Hated this movie. Hated it. Hated every simpering, stupid, vacant, audience-insulting moment of it. Unquote.
And yeah, you could pretty much put Roger Ebert's thoughts on this movie and sum it up with my thoughts as well, because yeah, I hated this movie. Hated this movie. Hated it. Hated every simpering, stupid, vacant, audience-insulting moment of it. Hated the sensibility that they thought anyone would like it. Hated the implied insult to the intelligence of the audience by its belief that anyone would be entertained by it. Yes, I'm just plagiarizing this because, you know what? That's how I really feel about this movie. This is a bad movie. Oh, the numerous things I could say about this wreck of a film. Well, for one thing, like I said, a waste of a really good cast. One of the biggest all-star casts you could possibly assemble here. Elijah Wood, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Jason Alexander, Bruce Willis, John Lovitz, Alan Arkin, Dan Aykroyd, Reba McEntire, Kelly McGillis, Graham Greene, Kathy Bates, Abe Vigoda, Faith Ford, John Ritter, Scarlett Johansson. You get the idea. This cast should have been more than enough to carry a movie over its obstacles, but nope. That wouldn't be enough for this movie by any means necessary, and it only gets worse from there. And by worse, I mean really racist, because not in the stupid of racist like calling a black person the N-word. No. This movie goes down to the stupidest and downright offensive ways to get a cheap laugh. Every single parent that North comes across in this movie as replacements are all stereotypes, and not just stereotypes, but really bad stereotypes. You have a couple from Texas who wear nothing but cowboy boots and over-the-top colorful wardrobe because, fuck it, they're in Texas and their obese son died in the stampede. Funny, right? That's how the movie plays it. You got a couple in Hawaii who decides that the best way to promote fertility in the town is to place billboards of North and his fucking butt crack. There's a part where North goes to visit an Eskimo family in Alaska, and they're literally living in igloos. They put makeup on Kathy Bates to make her look like Graham Greene, and worst of all, the scene where Ava Goda sent out to sea on an ice floe so that he may die with dignity. Where's the jokes at? And it gets worse and worse with every single scene. I mean, I just don't get it. You know, Rob Reiner's name was red hot when this came out. He was seen as a hot commodity in Hollywood, and then I have no idea what the hell he was thinking when he made this movie. Like I said before, the plot is interesting enough, but the fact that somebody with the caliber of Rob Reiner was making this junk, That's the biggest flaw of this movie. It has all the right elements there, but Reiner basically just looked at this and said, you know, fuck my credibility. I need to make one really terrible movie in my career because apparently that's the law in Hollywood. Everyone in Hollywood is entitled to have one really bad movie to their name. And if you don't think that, I can think of several directors who've had one really bad movie over a really good career overall. But yeah, this was Rob Reiner's first really big misfire of a film. North is not only one of the biggest stumbles of all time, it's a film that wastes a great cast, a great director, just completely abandoning all the good things that he had towards him at this point. An interesting plot wasted on bad story development, huge continuity issues, downright offensively bad comedy. You can say that most kids from your childhood hold up for nostalgia sakes, but trust me, this really is one of those movies that, regardless of how old it gets, will never be remembered as anything but what it is, a steaming pile of shit. North is my 16th worst movie of all time, and I've had people defend this movie to me. Friends of mine have defended this movie, and I just don't get it. Because this movie is complete and utter garbage. North, my 16th worst movie of all time. So, like I said, we're at the halfway mark, so come back next time, and we'll talk about the 15th worst movie I've ever seen in my life. And if you want to hear what I had to say about my 17th overall worst movie I've ever seen in my life, go ahead and check out the video here, check out the playlist up below, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.